Welcome to The Beam, where curiosity meets conversations, taking us a step further into the future we desire. I'm Sunas Nathaniel, and today we'll be taking a second look at drug trafficking, seeking ways to curb the menace of synthetic opioids, and asking questions with regards to the addiction of, Gen Z, this generation called the Gen Z generation. And many people would ask, why the Gen Z generation? Well, for me, it's also because the generation present is what they are, and the future cannot be born without them. Even as we're going to be exploring today how the fight against drugs in Nigeria is faring beyond the death penalty. As it's become our custom, before we proceed, let's take you through the spotlight for the week in which we see a move by the government towards the adoption of compressed natural gas for transformation, even as we also share a highlight of what transpired recently when Nigeria joined other nations to celebrate the World Drug Day. Don't go away. We'll be right back. The smooth adoption of compressed natural gas (CNG) as alternative fuel in Nigeria was the core deliberation at the forum organized by the Presidential Initiative on CNG and Portland Gas in partnership with Naseni. Representative of the PCNG, Tosin Koka, who stood in for his boss, Engineer Michael Oluwagbemi, noted that it is critical that the nation adopts CNG, adding that the government has a 50% discount for mass transit conversion programs, even as $50 million has been mobilized directly by the sector.
In an effort to reduce the cost of public transportation, we're catalyzing the sector by supporting with the introduction of CNG buses and tricycles, or kekes as we call them. In the next days, you will witness these on the streets of Abuja, even as we start to make the conversion kits available at 50% discount to the transport sector.
The Executive Secretary of Road Transport Owners, Chief Aloga Ogbogo, shared his insight on the impact of CNG on the road transport industry.
It's a step in the right direction. One, it will bring down the cost of operation. You imagine that from Lagos to Kano costs you about 1,000 liters and above. And if the cost of a diesel maybe say 900 naira, depending on the location, that's a substantial amount of money. And compared to gas, it's about 75% off cost of operation.
Fielding questions with regards to CNG adoption and the conversion of cars and tricycles, Mr. Folajimi Mohammed, the managing director of Portland Gas, notes that there is nothing to fear with regards to this move.
Greenhouse gas emission for sustainability of the system, for the environment, and it is clean fuel as well too. Again, for those who are in business, you can't steal gas. You can't lie about the petrol, about the gas that has been bought, but we need to make sure that the adoption is higher. As I said earlier in my presentation, we have 3 times the volume of gas than oil. So we have no business in not adoption and not being a gas nation.
The meeting concludes with a consensus on the urgent need for collaborative efforts to accelerate CNG adoption in Nigeria, even as stakeholders are optimistic about the future of sustainable transportation, envisioning a greener, more efficient road transport system.
Face of such a formidable challenge, prevention is the most potent weapon that we can deploy. Prevention not only saves lives, it also saves resources that would otherwise be spent on treatment and rehabilitation. It empowers individuals to make informed choices, promotes healthy lifestyles, and creates resilient communities capable of withstanding the pressures of drug abuse.
Drug integrity tests, which has been adopted by some government institutions and tertiary institutions in the country, is a preventive mechanism. The result, we have produced tens of thousands of special test kits capable of detecting different substances that are now available in all our commands across the country. Apart from helping in early detection of drug abuse, especially by our youths, so that we can get them help in form of treatment, this will also create some deterrence effects.
All right, welcome. If you're just joining us, this is The Beam coming to you live from our studios here in Abuja. And I have joining me in the studio Mr. Femi Babafemi, who's the Director for Media and Advocacy at the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, and we're going to be addressing how to curb the rise of synthetic opioids and drug addiction prevalent among the Gen Z, even as we look further into NDLEA's war against illegal drugs. Now, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Sunest.
All right. It's a pleasure always having you. Let's get into the matter because it's a very serious issue. America is flooded. The youths are, embroiled in drugs. And you look at that balance, Nigeria has the same youthful population. And there's a fear, in fact, research suggests that I think 15% of the population have been abusing drugs.
Yeah, just like you pointed to the situation in America where they really are battling with the opioids, especially fentanyl. So that confirms that indeed what we have on our hands is a global challenge. But then the good thing is we're not letting things lie down low here. We are really going after it ferociously, whether in terms of supply reduction, that is where we take out access and availability of these illicit substances. I mean, with the volume of illicit substances seized in the last 3 years, that's going over 7.6 million kilograms. That's like, just imagine, over 250 long trailers packed back to back. That's a whole lot. Probably, I doubt if there's anywhere in the world you have that volume of illicit drugs seized within a space of 3 years. That's, and again, the prosecution of those who are dealing in these illicit substances, who are trafficking and dealing in them, with over 9,000 convictions within the same period of time. That also shows that that's probably, again, one of the highest, if not the highest, anywhere in the world within the same period. But then the demand, where we have a huge population of those that are not yet abusing illicit substances. Don't forget that Nigeria, we have about 230 million. And going back to the 2018 survey report that was published in 2018, we have about 15 million, that's 14.3 million Nigerians, which gives us 14.4 prevalence rate, which indeed is almost, 3 times the global prevalence average, which is worrisome enough. But then when you look at some of the activities, the strategies that have been deployed by the new NDLA in the last 3 years, I'll tell you that indeed we're hitting the right notes in the right places, because one, the level of awareness that have been created by the social advocacy campaign of the agency, that is the War Against Drug Abuse, WADA, that is huge, taking along everybody. That's in our vehicle called the Whole of Society approach, that is getting everybody involved. And we're really glad and pleased that what we're doing now is part of the whole process, raising awareness so that people can know. When you know that indeed what you are taking or what you're about to take is capable of cutting your life short or damaging your organs, you may likely think twice before you go into it, which is the #1 cure in the world, prevention. And that's exactly what we're driving, so that if we say we have about 15 million, what happens to the rest 215 million others? So we really have to take care of this huge population so that we don't have more people slipping into that basket, while at the same time providing support and treatment to those who are already struggling with the issue. All right,
you've brought up a lot of issues, and I really wanted to go to death penalty, but I want to wait. Let's come to the guys who are involved. That's the Gen Z. Like I said in my opener, it's the generation of the now, and the future cannot be born without them.
Yeah.
Why do we have a large number of these people tilting towards drug abuse? I mean, the use of hard drugs.
We really have quite a lot of factors, what we call the predisposing factor, the causative factors responsible for that. We have to start from the family level, the smallest unit of the society. When probably you and I were growing up, we have parents who pay attention to what we do, to our sleeping pattern, to our eating habits, to the friends we keep outside the house. But what you find these days, what you called parenting, the real parenting, good parenting, intentional parenting, has left a lot of homes. Parents no longer parent. So they are no longer intentional. And so their kids go out, they leave their kids to go out, mix with all manner of people, and they don't really care what they bring back, what they come back home, or who they mix with outside there. So a lot of these young people, they are polluted because they don't really have intentional parents coming after them or grooming them. That's that. Two, you also have a situation where we have even a lot of parents themselves who are also in this habit. And so when the young ones at home see their parents doing the same thing, indulging in the same habit, there is that tendency that they would also fall into it. But beyond that again, don't forget that the people you call the Gen Z generation, they are the people you refer to also as the internet generation, people that spend a lot of their time on the internet. So this, don't forget that we started by saying this is a global challenge. And so you have quite a lot of these things on the internet, on social media. You have quite a lot of their role models, their idols, the celebrities, the entertainers, glorifying or glamorizing substance abuse on social media. And so these people are exposed to these things early in life. They see these things and they think that is the new norm. They drop subculture. That is the new norm. And so because they have taken these people as their role models, they want to do what they're doing without actually understanding the implications or the repercussions or the consequences of what they are doing. So they go into this as a result of copying what they see their role models do on social media. And that's why we've been really talking to these people, the celebrities, and we're glad that just last week or thereabout, we have the National Films and Video Censors Board coming out to say that they have, I mean, some of these things, what they put out, the skate makers, yeah, they need to. So we believe largely that would have to check some of these things that people just post in the name of posting content by misleading millions of their followers on social media. Right. So that's another causative factor. I mean, we can go on and on discussing that.
I also do not want to dwell on the causative because I know there are many measures that have been put in place to address these things. I'm very interested in the one where you have to call somebody to speak to an agent, kind of, as regards, you know, what
providing support
exactly,
for them. Yeah, those are some of the things put in place by the current leadership of the agency to address the problem. Now, I'll tell you that indeed, across our commands all over the country, we have 30 treatment and counseling centers where people can walk into to get support, to get treatment. And in the last 3 years, we've had more than 33,000 persons treated across our treatment and counseling center. But beyond that, because we realize that there is indeed the fear of being judged or being stigmatized by these people, quite a number of them who are already into it, they need help, they need treatment, but they are afraid that if they walk in physically to a treatment center, I mean, their neighbors will see them and say, oh, this one is a drug addict, you know, those kind of things. So they are afraid, they don't like that. So that's why General Mara came on board with that initiative of providing a call center where we have the same people, set of people you are going to meet in a physical, that's counselors, clinical psychologists, psychotherapists, psychiatric doctors, all of them working 24/7 every day. And so you put a call through to our call line, to our toll-free helpline. It's toll-free. You are not paying anything. You're not paying a dime for it. And they, at the other end, they attend to you, ask you questions, assess your situation, and provide you therapy and other psychosocial support services. And if perhaps in the assessment they think you need to check into a treatment center, then they have the map of all the treatment centers across the country. They can then send you to the nearest one to your location and then follow up with you to see you through treatment and recovery, and even work with you to see to your reintegration back to your family or your community. All
right, we're going to hold it there because when we come back, we're going to be looking at the flow of drugs, you know, from Latin America down to West Africa, heading back to Europe. We're going to look at how that is being checked, and some other things are part of the discussion today.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be taking a short break, and when we return, we'll be discussing further, you know, as to interventions to tackle drugs, you know, the drug addiction, and especially those among the young generation. We'll be right back. We'll be back in a minute. Welcome back. You're still watching Channels Beam, coming to you live from our studios in Abuja. Mr. Femi Babafemi, a spokesman of the NDLEA, is our guest today. And we're still looking at curbing the menace of synthetic opioids and drug addiction in Nigeria. Thank you for having shared insights so far. But let's go. You see, there is a rise of homegrown cooked drugs. That's the way I coined it. And then you see drugs also coming all the way from Latin America down to West Africa, heading back to Europe. What are we doing right now, to checkmate this process? And how difficult is it? Because many of these people are in the hinterlands, many of them are in... How do you guys go about this?
Yes, quite. I'll tell you, primarily, the agency as it is today is 100% intelligence-led, our operations. So we rely largely on intelligence, and we deploy a lot of modern tools, technological tools, to monitor all of this. In addition, that's within our country here, and that's why you see, even when people are doing it in the remoter places, I mean, you can see what happened in Abuja this last weekend. I mean, people gathered themselves in Sun City Estate for a drug party. I'm sure by the time our operatives got in there, they were shocked to see who. So that shows that no matter where you are doing it, no matter where you are hiding, the agency has the capacity and the capability to locate you and fish you. And that's why we've been able to go after those behind producing these homegrown psychoactive substances, like what we call the new psychoactive substances, MPS. You know, we have quite a lot of them, squishies, monkey tail, and all of these people. We've located quite a lot of their hidden or clandestine factories all over the country, taking them out and ensuring that those behind them are prosecuted and sent to jail to serve as deterrent. Having said that, now when you talk of these things coming from outside into our country, we work like, as we said again, it's a global challenge, and so no country can do it alone. So we have to work with a lot of our partners out there across, in other jurisdictions across the world. And so we worked effectively and very well with, counterparts like the Drug Enforcement Administration in the US, DEA. We worked very well with the International Narcotics and Law Enforcement also, that's the Bureau. And also in the US, we work again very well with UK Border Force as well as UK National Crime Agency. We work very well with the Germans, with the French, with the Indians, everywhere, name it, anywhere in the world. So, and with these people, we share intelligence. They give us, we give them. We do joint operations. And with a lot of them, we also have signed a memorandum of understanding for joint operations and collaboration, all of this. And so all of this has strengthened the capacity and capability of the agency to dictate when these things. Just imagine what happened in the ports when, you have quite some huge shipments of opioids, which we got. We were already ahead of them anyway, even before it got here. We're ahead of them, and we have to work with our local counterparts like the customs and other security agencies in the port to share.
If I may butt in quickly, the death penalty for drug trafficking, how efficient do you think this is right now?
Well, you see why we cannot go into that, into that discussion in details, because that's still a process. It's not, that's still a legislative process. It's not yet a law yet. We are the end user, so we have to wait until we see the final product. What has happened is the House of Reps passed a version which stipulates life imprisonment, while the Senate passed a version which stipulates death penalty as punishment. But then the two chambers will still have to have a concurrence and pass it, and then before it gets to the president, before it becomes a law. That is the president signing it before it becomes a law. Yeah. So that it's then we can then start discussing what is what. But for now, we cannot discuss what is really not.
But what I'm saying, have we seen it played out in some other places now that we're trying to bring it in? Have we seen it play out in other countries and that's why we're bringing it in? That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's the Senate, not the agency. I'm speaking for the agency.
Okay, that was a smart move. Now, talking about it, Uruguay, Canada, about 27 jurisdictions under the United States have legalized cannabis, marijuana and all that, right? And the question I would ask is, looking at the generation now, do you think it's inevitable in Nigeria to legalize cannabis? One,
we also have to put it rightly that it's not, you have quite some states in the U.S. But not,
that's about almost 27 jurisdictions.
Not everybody, not every state in the U.S.
Yes.
So that is one. Two, When you look at the 2018 drug survey report, out of 14.3 million Nigerians that report showed abused illicit substances the previous year, 10.6 million of them actually abused cannabis. That's more than the population of some 2, 3, 4 African countries combined. That's more than the population of a number of European countries. And if, put that aside. Now, if we agree again, that no doubt about that, there is a strong nexus between criminalities and drugs. Now, if we agree, now why would you take the risk when we know that this is actually the most abused in our country? Why do we have to take the risk of now say, okay, everybody is free for you now? That is like we're trying to create a country of junkies. Now, most of the people that had come up with argument for this have always said, quite some countries are projecting to generate so billions of dollars from the sale of this, from the export of this. Now, the question again to ask is, if you export this, you make $10 million, and at the end of the day, you have to build rehab facilities. You have to spend $100 million to build rehab facilities. You have to spend $1 billion to solve some of the security challenges fueled by this same substance. What is the logic in that? So we have to be very careful with that. That's why for us as the NDLA, we're not seeing that in the nearest future. And I think in the 9th Assembly, National Assembly, Nigerians spoke loudly by rejecting the bid to bring that bill to legalize it. I think it was thrown out, rejected by Nigerians through their representatives then in the House of Reps.
All right. So in 1 minute, as we wrap up, how do we get this generation to overcome drug addiction? How do we help them? What are the measures we can put in place?
Well, first, awareness. We have to continue to talk to them, which we're doing. We're working with the families, ensuring that we get the message down to the family. And one of the latest things that the agency has also done is what we launched on 26th Wednesday, last Wednesday. That's the Save Our Families campaign.
That was the drug day, World Drug Day.
Yes, SOF, which is to promote the awareness about drug testing. So that families, now we have test kits that parents can sit in the comfort of their homes and use to test their kids. Because what that does is early detection. It's not punitive. Early detection. When you detect early, you can bring support and treatment for this before it gets complicated into, when it gets to dependence or addiction, then it becomes more complex, and if you are not careful, from addiction, it can turn to psychiatric issues. So those are the things we're trying to avoid, and that's why we're trying to raise awareness, trying to also bring early testing to early detection to families. These kits can be used in homes, in offices, in workplaces, a lot of places, self-use. So that way, we are really, and we're taking the campaign to schools, to workplaces, so that everybody can get on board, take ownership of it.
Thank you, Mr. Babafemi. I personally am very appreciative of the work the NDLA is doing, because I know that in the future, it's going to be a very big problem if we don't tackle it now.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for coming on the program.
Always my pleasure.
All right, viewers, that's our time on The Beam today. Thank you for always staying tuned. And don't forget that we can continue this conversation, as always, on all social media platforms. And as usual, we'll be leaving you with our top 5 most viewed videos of the week. I'm Soonest Nathaniel. Until I come your way again, I thought to remind you that, you see, it's wise not to stress yourself over the drugs, because the future, you don't need to be high for us to fly. That's for the youths. Let's stay away from darkness. Bye for now.
This week's countdown begins with an extended clip from Chioma and Davido's lavish wedding, which has millions talking in Nigeria and beyond.
I am looking for a sister. Chioma, my lover. She can't be daughter. She the wear designer.
Our fourth-placed video on the countdown comes from an interview in which former trade union leader Abdulwahid Omar says there is no going back on the move to oust the national chairman of the Labour Party, Julius Abure.
And it doesn't just come up out of the blues. It is a result of analysis, careful analysis. What is the minimum somebody with a wife and 2 or 3 kids can use to maybe for a period of 1 month?
In third place, we head to Kenya, where President Ruto has been forced to bow to pressure by standing down the controversial financial bill amidst the rising death toll in the raging protest.
On notice, the planners, financiers, orchestrators, and abettors of violence and anarchy, that the security infrastructure established to protect our republic and its sovereignty will be deployed to secure the country and restore normalcy.
In second place, we have a clip in which police in Rivers State declare an ex-militant known as General Asabuja wanted, following a viral video in which he is seen firing shots and threatening residents.
All necessary units of the Nigerian police force within the state to be on the lookout for this vehicle and the victims in case they are going for treatment anywhere.
Our most viewed video this week is an interview in which cardiologist Dr. Iseko asserts that a senior customs officer who recently slumped and died at the National Assembly could have been saved if immediate CPR was carried out.
I don't have his medical history and I cannot see what happened, and this is barely 10 seconds. What I would say is that, first of all, I feel very pained and I feel lots of emotion watching the last minutes of somebody that perhaps could have been saved if perhaps he had made a medical checkup. He might be having diagnosed with something that may have, people really do not just die. They typically will have had something somewhere at the background, some symptom that may have been happening.
That's it on our countdown today. Join us next week for more.